inviting you in as well. Okay. So I'm not gonna have them wait any longer for me. I'm not gonna bother updating the names. Draft already. Hope not. Do the draft. If not, then we can do that. Sweet. Not done the draft. So we're gonna see the Deathbots go up against Tire. This is good. TireFyrePyre. That's gonna be on Infernal Shrines again.
Can you say that 3 times fast?
TireFyrePyre. The end. All right, observer link in the lobby. Yeah, maybe I could. I don't think it's gonna happen. Draft link. Oh, rip, my gaming mouse died. I got my other one. There, draft links out to these.
Were you in Boy Scouts?
Oh no. I said I was excited for you. Neat. Start round 1. On the fairly excited. The captain of the Deathbots. So yeah. So let me draft link. And again, I really appreciate these guys waiting for us.
I think we're actually supposed to. They were at the top of the hour, right? 9 o'clock. So they waited for a little bit for that game to finish.
Yeah, I mean, pretty neat on them. Sure. And then Raylu, let me get you 18. Wait, you're going into a new game right away. Yeah. Ideally, what I would like to do is have games be spaced 40 minutes apart. That's generally the amount of time we see.
Yeah, for best of ones, it's pretty consistent the amount of time it takes. Awkward. For best of ones, it's pretty consistent the amut of time it takes, but for best of threes, it's not.
Cavalier guys, you go ahead and do the draft. I gotta go plug my headset in.
I will do that.
The legend.
Yes, Bubble Titan. We were talking about that on my stream earlier. One of the best ways to counter Medivh is Lunara, but you need a finisher, right? So you strain the team by going Lunara, particularly if you go Splintered Spear, but then you also need displacements to knock people away from the portal so they can't just get away using the portals. Or you need some sort of CC that's area of effect that will lock people down as they come through the portal. We saw in a Korean Pro match, actually, roots on Malfurion being used. They would just cast roots on the portal. As soon as the portal popped up, people would come through the portal, they would get rooted, and then they would just die because you can't get back in the portal when you're CC. So sustained damage that is consistent. Lunara is the best in the game at that. And then some kind of displacement or area CC are like the easiest ways to counter Medivh style comps. But this is Infernal Shrines. We do see ETC banned out by Deathbots. So they're limiting the tank pool by instantly picking up Murden after TireFyrePyre does ban Zagara. I mean, Zagara is strong on this map. Zagara is strong on every map because every map has at least one, if not two lanes that are really farther apart than the other lanes. And Zagara is the strongest soul laner in the game right now, bar none. It's really difficult to beat her in lane. A very good Thrall or a very good Illidan player are pretty much dealing counters. There used to be more, but after her rework, her damage is just so much higher that it's very difficult. She's a little bit more balanced on PTR. She won't see this level of dominance once the patch hits live, but for now, that's where she is. TireFyrePyre, picking up Sylvanas and Brightwing, having that global can be really important because it allows you to get soaked for a little bit longer every single time there's a Shrine phase. And Sylvanas, if you win the Punisher, doubles the value of any Punisher that you get, which is a huge deal. And it forces Deathbots into drafting to win the Shrine fight, which they don't do. They actually draft Zul, who is okay on Shrine fights, but he's really more of a soaking hero. He's very good at getting ahead on the map experience-wise. But TireFyrePyre can make up that entire deficit just by winning one Punisher and pushing with the Sylvanas. But Deathbots also has the fall stats. They're going to have that global. So they might get, I mean, if they can get a pick or if they can get a Gust, isolation with Gust once they hit 10, they should be in okay shape.
Yeah, I mean, that's a bold move, Cotton. You're going to leave Sylvanas out there. They get picked up. You got to win those shrine fights. I mean, Zul has a lot of wave clear. Falstad goes Magestad. The Boomerang can help on that front as well. But they're definitely doing something of a high wire act. Rhaegar is going to be the band. They want to try to monopolize those supports.
And that's the best support in terms of shrine control with Lightning Bond at level 1. So I understand that decision. But I feel like Deathbots needs to ban Kerrigan here. If the TireFyrePyre, like Tyrael and Kerrigan are both still on the menu, they can win the shrine 100% of the time if they can just keep the Kerrigan alive. Mm-hmm. And that's really all they need to do. And if they win the shrines, that Sylvanas is going to make them win the game. And Tyrael can keep Kerrigan alive post 10 through almost anything. And if things do go sideways, they're probably going to have Emerald Wind on Brightwing. They have a lot of disengage options. Emerald Wind also does enough damage to completely clear the shrine at least one time. So if they're like close to winning it, they can just pop that and guarantee, and they do end up picking up the Kerrigan.
I mean, I understand why you would ban out Johanna, but like you said, leaving Kerrigan out there, that's a pretty big matzo ball. How do you feel about the early Brightwing pick, though? I mean, that's a strong priority. They listen to you verbatim. I mean, that's why you're Socrates.
I don't know why they picked up Brightwing so early. I do think that they're probably doing some Emerald Wind chance, and we could be seeing a double support comp, right? We could be seeing Tassadar Brightwing or Brightwing Medivh. And I think they're going to break it out. That last pick is going to be a little bit of a surprise to Deathbots.
If the last pick is Ariel, I don't know how Deathbots win. Ariel Brightwing, the synergy doesn't really seem that apparent at first, really. But there's just something about that combination, man. It was doing all kinds of work at PAX West. The Taman Strike would be another stun that synergizes well what Kerrigan's going to bring to the table. Crystal Aegis, Sanctification. I mean, it's going to be the Kerrigan show. And then you're going to have Sylvanas being able to lock down structures, winning the Punisher phase. Deathbots are really going to have to come out of the gate swinging on these last two picks to do something with that.
I mean, Deathbots could take Ariel here. Zul with Poison Nova actually will give Ariel almost like 2 full bars because of the damage over time. So you switch it to Zul right as you cast Poison Nova, you get those 2 full heals, you switch it back to some other target. If you can stagger your hope like that and to get a lot of the hope out of the burst ability of each individual hero that's in your team comp, you can end up doing massive, absolutely massive amounts of healing over a short period of time. Especially if you take the cooldown reduction at level 7 over Empathic Link, because you can just spam every 2 seconds, you can spam a full heal on your entire team. And that's difficult to deal with, even for a blow-up comp like Kerrigan Tyrael. But they end up going Tassadar as a solo support and Sonya for the shrine babysitting. So she's going to try and spin to win on those shrines through all of that damage.
Are we in Europe?
I think we did. Like we blinked and we're in Europe. That's a solo support Tassadar.
I mean, that's the only place I see solo support Tassadar is over in, and it gives them firepower in the shrine phase. Sonya being able to spin all over those is helpful, but Deathbots dodged something of a bullet in my opinion by the 5th pick Tychus, because like I said, man, that last pick was Ariel.
Tychus can't heal through Tassadar, excuse me, can't shield through Tychus's damage, because if he goes bigger they are, it keeps working until you're at 40% health, even if you have attack shield on you, which means that his trait just melts Tassadar shields. Actually, Tychus is a hero that you have to take or ban if you're planning on going Soul Sport Tassadar. And this is the reason we don't see Soul Sport Tassadar in an A very often. EU has a really good feel for what counters this and what you have to pick up and what you have to deny to the enemy team when you do this. And NA just doesn't. Every time I see NA try and Soul Sport Tassadar, they forget some hero that's like essential that the enemy team could still pick up. And it's right there. It's Tychus.
I mean, Chair League is a place where you start to see some of the unconventional. It's where you see things. There's a little bit more experimentation. But in this immediate case, the Deathbots would really have to convince me on this solo support Tassadar. I feel like they somehow are going to need to win team fights before they really start. And they're going to have to try to shut down Tychus before he can really jump in there and do what he does best. They have to win the race to heroics and then try to snowball this game in such a way that compositions hardly matter. That's no short order.
If FirePyre didn't have Sylvanas, that's something you can always do with Azul. You can afford the first Punisher will get a wall, right, for an average team comp. Zul, if you delay long enough and you let him double soak the first temple, will get 2 walls and part of a fort and the wells. Right? A well-rotated Zul with a good team that's good at delay can get so much more value than the first Punisher, and you end up so far ahead if and only if the enemy team does not have Sylvanas. If they were going to go for this strategy, this is what they wanted to do, they needed to first ban Sylvanas over first banning EDC. And they didn't do that, and now that's just something they're going to have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, I've been wrong before. I don't claim to know everything. But on paper, I just feel like the solo support Tassadar is going to have a rough time. I think he's going to see his teammates die a lot, and it's going to feel bad. We'll find out. Over on the left side, we got Deathbots. We're going to have Falstad being played by Zodiac, the Grumpy Kitten on Zul, Skinny Love on Tassadar, Ouroboros on Sonya, Ellis on Murden.
And for TireFyrePyre on the right side of the screen, the Devils on this map. We have the AT on Tychus, Romeo Zulu on Brightwing, Raylu on Tyrael, Frostine on Sylvanas, and Kerrigan on I Hate God.
And I mean, Frostine was kind enough to let us know how to pronounce the name. So we'll be sure to do that as best as possible. Early engagement already on Raylu's face, but the counter engagement polymorph actually is a plot twist, and it's Murden that goes down.
For the record, there's really simple rules about who wins level 1 team fights. Certain heroes change the dynamic completely. If you have a Kerrigan, you should always win the level 1 team fight, which means you shouldn't ever be that far forward against a Kerrigan comp, and they pay for it with that instant first stat.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely something I have to worry about. The level 1 fight's always interesting, but positional, being that far out in the middle lane, you're doing it pretty brazenly. Grumpy Kitten is going to get caught with this combination. Tychus goes over, and that's going to be 2 takedowns. A great start so far. TireFyrePyre.
Zul can clear those waves. He can do that rotation, but you need to protect him. You needed to be doing a 4-man rotation, and the other 3 members of his team just stayed mid, poking at Tyrael, who's like not going to die. You're not going to kill a Tyrael with Eldruins. He can always do that disengage. So they left Zul all on his own to just get killed, and that's ruining their rotation. They're now behind in the rotation. When they have better wave clear, they should be ahead.
Yeah, I mean, like we were saying in draft, the 1 through 10 race is pretty much going to be their best shot at establishing some kind of advantage that's really going to shore up some of these holes that they have in their composition, but it's not going to work out when you're getting killed like this early on. So the first Shrine phase is going to be up. To the credit of the Deathbots, though, they've managed to stay pretty even on experience.
I mean, all those rotations for those kills did result in a little bit of missed soak for TireFyrePyre. They basically evened it out by getting kills but missing soak, and a kill is actually worth less than a wave of experience. If you miss an entire wave for 1 single kill, it actually puts you behind in experience unless you also deny soak, but it didn't work out. Deathbots did manage to make sure they got all that soak, and now Zul starting his rotation, clearing that top lane, getting level 4 first for his team, and now he's going to go back to clear mid.
I mean, this is something of an ambitious play from Deathbots. They didn't win a 5v5 earlier, and they're going to leave Zul to his own devices, and it's already starting to pay off poorly for them. They're going to lose Murden. They almost lost other people. Ouroboros has to hearth back. The sustain is just not there in this solo support Tassadar setup. And I'm not sure they can really afford to let Zul rotate around like this when they only have Tassadar to keep the team alive.
I mean, the Murden was really far forward. We talk about the invincible line sometimes where you don't want to be on the other team's side of the map if you're playing passively, and all you're trying to do is delay, right? You're not trying to win the Shrine. You're just trying to steal the occasional minion, get in there, poke, and leave. And Murden was all the way over on TireFyrePyre's side of the map, as is Zodiac, and he gets comboed as a result. Every time they overextend into that shrine, they're going to get a pick, and every pick they get negates some of the value of what Zul is doing, so they really need to be very careful about that.
If you're watching this through the Chair League website, and I hope you are, go ahead and give I Hate God a couple of clicks, because that Kerrigan combo was serious on 2 members of Deathbots, paving the way for a 4 takedown to 0 lead, first Punisher of the game, and Zul is just doubling down on this split push effort. We'll see what kind of value they get, because they're actually up in experience right now.
TireFyrePyre won the Punisher, but is sending Sylvanas to clear the lanes that Zul has pushed in. They're not pushing with the Sylvanas, which means they're not going to get that experience advantage. They're not going to get the fort that you would normally get out of pushing with the Sylvanas. That's why you pick Sylvanas on this map. And as a result, Deathlords is actually going to come out relatively even in the experience and a little bit ahead in the structure lead. That was such a huge mistake. I can't believe they didn't push with the Sylvanas.
Cavalier, I am flabbergasted. It is very interesting. I do not understand the reasoning of sending Sylvanas of all heroes to the top lane to worry about the split push Zul. Sylvanas on this map, the whole reason why you really take her and prioritize her that early is to do exactly what they did not do. I mean, if she was there locking down the structure, that might have been that bottom fort. But to send her up is really respecting the potential of Zul, but I think they need to adjust that strategy.
And they could have sent the Tychus, who has more kill potential as well. They do get a counter kill on the Brightwing, Deathlord says, with the Zul route. I don't understand why they sent the Sylvanas. There's so many other things going on, and my mind is just blown.
I mean, this is a power play moment for Deathbots. They got the kill on Brightwing. They don't have their support. She is going to be able to teleport back, but I feel like this is the time they really need to up the tempo and really start to swing things their way. TireFyrePyre has already shown a willingness to respond to what the Deathbots are doing. So if they can continue to dictate the pace and force TireFyrePyre to respond to them, they could end up making this composition work.
We do see Zul didn't pick up any of his sustain talents despite the fact that he's doing the double lanes. One of the reasons we see him constantly running out of health and mana here. He wins Death's Reach on level 1 for that poke and Harvest Vitality for more in-fight healing. I'm not sure if that's better than showing up to every fight at full health from Rathmas, but I understand with the Soul Sport Task Star it's a little bit concerning. And we also see a strange build coming out of the Task Star. We see the full W build. Static Shield Plus charged up at 7 for that increased range. And that doesn't help him either in terms of the burst on the shrine, so they're giving him a lot of the advantages they could have had with certain talents on the shrine fights.
I mean, it's reading like there are just opportunities on both sides to really try to run away with this game, and that might be exactly what happens. Bellis is eating a ton of damage out in the front line. The root goes down on I Hate God, who's on the ropes and ends up going down, but Sonya dies as well. Raylu has less than 200 health, is able to back away. 2 for 2 so far. Can they get value out of this Tyrael explosion? Seemingly not. The root goes down on B the AT. He is able to escape with his face intact, though. But with the heroic advantage, I do think that this Punisher could come away in the hands of the Deathbots. Nicely done.
We will see B the AT end up clearing mid and getting level 10 for his team as well. Everyone's going to come back up in time. And Wailing Arrow plus Maelstrom plus Sank, if they get on the shrine right away, they should be able to take away. But Sylvanas is going to the top lane to clear. It doesn't look like they're actually going to contest. They're going to give it up.
They seem to have a pretty passive approach to this game, and I'm not sure if that's really the way to go, especially when you have like Kerrigan in your composition. The rest of the teammates have a whole different opinion. A Wailing Arrow from downtown with the fadeaway jump shot. There we go. That's some of the more aggressive style that I was hoping to see with their lineup. Come away with 2 kills, 39 out of 40. If they do not come away with this Punisher, feels bad.
Some massive anti-synergy there. Tastar force walled to try and split the team, and then Falstad gusted the team away for the disengage, and they didn't get disengaged because the force wall was there. Sylvanas was late with the Wailing Arrow, but it didn't end up mattering because that gust actually gave them so much time where they weren't fighting that Sylvanas managed to rotate down, get the Wailing Arrow, and they lost in the kills despite all of that, you know, awkward heroic use. And then they still picked up the Punisher.
I mean, I was worried for the Deathbots. I wanted them to try to have some kind of serious advantage before the heroes got picked up. And while they've had some success in some areas, they have not really established themselves to really dictate the terms of this mid game. Heroics like Sanctification, a nice Mighty Gust there is going to help Skinny Love get away. But some of these more sustaining, game-changing heroics are just going to be really hard for Tassadar by himself to deal with.
I mean, I agree completely. I'm also very surprised we see Blink Heal picked up over Emerald Wind. We do see the full Dream Shot Mystified cooldown reduction build to try and get the maximum value out of the trade. Not giving that 10% increased healing on the trade, but I guess is a little bit awkward. I guess Brightwing just wanted the mobility. There's not really that much dive on the enemy team. I don't think she needed the additional ability with the front line that she has. You know, this Tyrael and Kerrigan standing in front of her.
Yeah, I agree. That is something of a curious choice. Like, if Sonya went for Leap, then I could see more of an argument for that. But it's better to be safe than sorry. They have to make sure that Brightwing is up to get the most value out of this support advantage. But they actually managed to find Kerrigan in the mid lane and secure a kill there. That's huge for them.
It is huge. And they did burn Poison Nova in the process, and it's going to be close. Poison Nova might not be up before the next shrine happens, and if that's the case, and they have to fight that heroic down, that might not have been worth the kill. But for now, huge fight. They do end up using Gust to secure that camp. And Wailing Arrow ends up going down as well, so that'll be 2 heroics avatars. So multiple heroics actually might not be up for the next shrine fight.
Frosty-Nay's been really landing some nice Wailing Arrows. They weren't able to follow up with the kill on that thanks to a well-timed Mighty Gust. That has to be an eyebrow-raising moment for the Deathbots. They have to worry about when Wailing Arrows off a cooldown, because each time it gets used, it's had a huge impact.
And both teams managed to establish 13. Both teams are at level 5, so this is going to be essentially an even fight. We do have Sanctification Maelstrom, which is so good on the Shrine once you can get that going. And I really want to see a TireFyre fight on the Shrine, not in the lane like this. They do end up getting a decent combo off and popping Maelstrom invulnerable. Sanctification does come down. So much damage being done, but the Kerrigan does not get these super huge shields that she would have gotten if they picked that fight on the Shrine instead. They do manage to get the Tassadar pick cover and the Zool. Nice body block there with the Eldrin Smite by Rayleigh.
Yeah, that was a great team fight by I hate God. I mean, everybody on the side of TireFyrePyre, they come away with a couple of kills there. I'm surprised that the Deathbots were able to sustain as long as they did, because having only Tassadar, I expected deaths a lot sooner, especially during that Sanctification, but they just weren't able to hold out. This Punisher is going to go over to TireFyrePyre unless the absolute bizarre happens. You do see a rotation down towards bot. Ouroboros and Bellis are down here trying to get some kind of counter value out of this. But I do feel like they need to send Frosty along with this Punisher. But again, they're just responding to what Deathbots are doing.
And yeah, again, not pushing with the Sylvanas. This is such a huge mistake. This could be an easy keep. Trading a fort in the bottom lane for a keep and a fort in the top lane is a trade you should take any day of the week. And instead, they're just not getting the optimal use out of the Sylvanas pickup. And Zool and Falstad top are going to clear that Punisher for free.
That was an arcane Punisher too, Cavalier Guess. Like, I just feel like that was a huge opportunity missed.
Didn't even get a wall. They literally got more value out of the first Punisher they got.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going back to flabbergasted. I mean, they've used Sylvanas to try to get this bottom fort, but they don't even come away with that thanks to a well-timed Mighty Gust. Some positional and strategic mistakes that I think is going to end up costing them pretty heavy.
You see another huge Wailing Arrow in the quarter. Laser comes down. Kerrigan combo forces them to stay in the laser range. Tassadar is going to get out of here with Precedence, plus his Dimensional Shift. Very nicely done. No kills actually go down, and a lot of heroics burnt for nothing. They do manage to steal a camp.
Yeah, like I said, the Wailing Arrows always landed on multiple heroes, but the follow-up just hasn't been there. But Zool gets rocked trying to get back behind his middle fort wall. That's huge. It's going to be down for 32 seconds. Sanctification is up. Are they going to look to press an advantage here? It seems like every time they could theoretically make something happen with Sylvanas, they just decide to go do other things. It's very curious to me.
And they're just rotating, and no forts are down. Like, they've won all but one Punisher, I believe, and no forts are down, whereas normally we would immediately see one fort per Punisher down, and then sometimes, you know, a keep down easy. I think that they're just playing too passively, and that's going to come. It could come back to bite them, because once it's a 20 versus 20 fight, and they have that blow up potential with all of the damage from Zool, with the anti healing potentially from Mortal Wound, or the extra damage from Bone Spear. and the the extra sustain Murden is going to get potentially at 16 from Stoneform. They're gonna have harder and harder time winning these team fights, especially if they get a single isolation with Gust. And by not pressing the advantage when they have it, they're giving them a chance to come back. They're giving Deathbots a chance to come back to this game.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly the point and thing that I'm worried about for TireFyrePyre. By not closing out this game, by not pressing the advantage when they have it, it's just giving the Deathbots more and more opportunities to turn this thing around. We have the next Shrine phase show up. Ouroboros already at half health. Be the AT, doing a ton of damage to Sonya. She had 18 health before finally actually going down. That's huge for them. Are they going to look to press this advantage? Zodiac applying pressure to be the AT. This is a hectic team fight, Cavalier.
Holy ground steps, keeping everyone in here. Raylu does get a little bit low, but he manages to back out in time. And Falstad with the shield going to come in, try for the flank again. BVAT is so low, but Falstad can't finish him off because he doesn't have that burst from his Q talent at 7. He only has the sustained damage from all his W talents, which is not enough. He does manage to be able to, BVAT does get out of range in time. I Hate God is so low, but does have to reset on Ravage, trying to heal himself up off the minions. He misclicks one, doesn't have his Ravage reset, but Sanctification comes down and Zul gets erased.
Beautiful Sanctification. Holy crap. Single-handedly saved that team fight, I feel, because the health bars on the side of TireFyrePyre was starting to drop pretty low. I thought that team fight actually could have got turned around in favor of the Deathbots. That Sanctification, man. A couple of clicks for Tyrael off of that one.
Still not pushing with the Sylvanas. They sent Sylvanas back to clear the Merc camp. I don't think they understand what Sylvanas is good for. They had her in the solo lane at the start of the game. She's not pushing with all the Punishers. They don't understand how to properly utilize Sylvanas.
I mean, they would have got, like, these forts should be gone by now. Like, they could have easily come away with this keep, I feel, if they had Sylvanas. This Frozen Punisher got baited over the wall, absolutely chunked down. Sylvanas is so late to this party, so much value left on the table, but hold on, they still might be able to get some value out of this. Zul throws out the Poison Nova, not going to be enough. The Wailing Arrow, again, the 20-foot jump shot, securing a kill on Murden, and now they can lock down structures. So they can still come away with this keep, but that's still, from a strategic standpoint, pretty big misplay in my opinion.
I kind of want them to just give this up. They're not gonna end here. I don't believe they should just rotate mid and use the Sylvanas to pressure that fort, get that fort out of the way, and then go top and get that fort out of the way. So that wherever the next Punisher spawns, they're guaranteed to be pushing in a lane that only has a keep left. Instead, Frosting's going back. She's just gonna Hearth again and start deep pushing lane. They're just using her solely for her wave clear. They're literally only using 1/3 of her kit, right? Because they're missing out on the entire part of her kit that says disables buildings.
Like, when I saw Sylvanas Hearth back, I was doing that, like, Jackie Chan meme where, like, his hands go up to his forehead and he's, like, confused. Because it wasn't like Sylvanas was hurt. Like, I completely agree with you. They could have gotten these forts for free, gotten themselves closer to level 20. I mean, it just seems like exceedingly passive play. And it's giving Deathbots so many opportunities to get back into this game. If the Deathbots are able to win a convincing team fight, they get the TireFyrePyre could end up throwing this game pretty easily.
They absolutely can. I'm kind of hoping they do, almost, to be honest, just so that they learn the lesson about making sure that when you're ahead, you get more ahead. When you have a Sylvanas, you push with her, you maximize that advantage, you get that lane pressure going on forever and ever and ever. And it's funny because they're using her to push the lanes out because they want lane pressure, but if they had catapults in 2 lanes right now instead of just 1, they'd have a lot more lane pressure.
Right. I mean, they have kind of gotten the memo now. They're going to start as a 5-person unit knocking down this fort. And look how quick they got this fort. They're probably like, we could have done this in the middle lane. We could have did this a while ago. Huh. Interesting.
This is level 20 for them. I'm hoping they just stay on the shrine and get it. They don't worry about this bottom fort getting picked off. Fort is not a big deal compared to, winning the Punisher at this point in the game. The Punisher should just be able to end. If they push with it, Zul in the top lane getting that soak as well. And Zul can actually rotate mid momentarily. They do send Sylvanas down to try and duel the Zul in lane, and she's gonna succeed because he did not take Rathmas. He does not have the sustain at level 7 to constantly deny her damage in lane just from clearing the wave.
And yet, this is a pretty big opportunity. They could potentially hearth back. But look at this siege pressure. This is exactly what I was worried about. You're giving Deathbots so many opportunities. They don't even clear the Punisher, the Shrine phase, before losing their bottom keep. This should not be happening.
And those lanes are now evenly pushed, except, you know, the catapults are more pushed up, the lanes more pushed up for Deathbots, which means that pressure is going to be theirs. They can all hearth back now. They can do a 5-man defense with 20 and all of their heroics picked up. We do see Nexus Frenzy picked up Bone Spear, Storm Shield, Ignore Pain, and Rewind on Muradin. That is going to give him potential to just erase someone and give them do such a massive CC chain for his team.
It is very surprising to me that they've been able to successfully bait out these heavy rotations from TireFyrePyre. This is another instance where Sylvanas is on the other end of the map watching their arcane Punisher get melted by a keep that they should be locking down. Bunch of damage going out onto the members of Deathbots, though. Solo support Tassadar not going to be enough to keep Muradin up.
Muradin killed with Avatar and Stoneform still available, actually, right there. He needed to pop this a little bit earlier.
Feels bad. I mean, this game still should go in the hands of TireFyrePyre, but it could have gotten dicey. Well, no, I think they've actually done it. They've pushed them back. The passive play continues to come out from TireFyrePyre, so Deathbots still have a shot.
And again, they have a Sylvanas alive. They could just go mid and grab that fort for free, grab the keep wall. Muradin's going to be down for 25 seconds. Deathbots cannot take a 5v4 in these scenarios, in this scenario without their tank. And they do it. They skip the camp and they're gonna push mid lane. Maybe no, they're getting the siege instead. They're not gonna get the free fort.
Cavalier, I don't know what to say, man. I am stymied by this. Like, you have Sylvanas. You can do so much more. Like, how is that middle fort still here against Sylvanas? I try not to be critical of people's play. I mean, it's one thing to be able to look at this literally from a bird's eye view and then just objectively say, like, oh, well, it would have been ideal to do this. I get that there's pressure in playing in a competitive setting, but I mean, you have Sylvanas. Use your assets. You took Sylvanas early in your draft for a reason, and it wasn't to go back and clear bruiser camps when you get the Punisher.
Maybe they think Sylvanas is unfair on this map, and I picked it just to make sure that team didn't have. But they're like, we don't want to be that guy that drafts Sylvanas and just wins the games that fast. So let's just like not use her advantage ever.
TireFyrePyre, be those guys. Be those guys. I mean, this bottom keep, you stood. Look, they're all hearthing back. It's just like, at the slightest sign of trouble, it just seems like they get spooked and they're going back. And the Deathbots have just been able to capitalize on it. There is no reason this middle fort should be here right now at full health.
I don't know. Deathbots is going top to clear the bruiser camp. There's actually two people going up. They don't need both of them up here. Falstad could easily clear this by himself and then fly down. That'd be a little bit better use of that global pressure. But you know, TireFyrePyre is going to get a little bit of advantage on the shrine while they're flying down. That's fine. Falstad does fly down. Tassadar is going to be a little bit later. They could have gotten here, 5 seconds earlier. That would have been 7 minions at least. Could have been more. And that's a little. Those are the small leads that you can sacrifice in the late game like this. Oh my God! Look at those combos.
I mean, and this is another straight-up team fight that the Deathbots could potentially win. There was a lot of poke damage that went out. But Right Wing is able to start patching people up. Muradin's going to be first to fall. Ouroboros spinning for their very lives trying to get away. And they actually pull it off. But look at this return damage on TireFyrePyre. The Sanctification's not getting the value that it could have gotten otherwise. But it's all right. They still come away with the kill on Zul. And they've got it in the game off of this, right, Cavalier?
I hope so. I'd like to point out again that Muradin died without activating Stone Form or Avatar.
And I mean, Cavalier, we're looking at another situation where TireFyrePyre gets the Punisher and Sylvanas is back at their base.
Okay, it doesn't matter this time though, because there's no keep in this lane. If the Punisher goes straight to core, you can't stun core. This is the one time where it actually doesn't matter. But if they don't end here, and they don't get that middle keep with the Sylvanas, even though they don't end, I don't know what to say.
I would be rendered speechless for sure. Mortar Punisher jumping over, lands a stun on Skinny Love. The shield is starting to drop. Tassadar has to use his prescience to keep himself alive, shields himself. Ouroboros does not have hardened shield. The core dropping down to 70%. Zul will be up in 5 seconds. It's 50% now. The Punisher's getting pretty low as well. Could they theoretically turn this around? I don't think so. This should be game better.
The death explosion from Tyrael, even if they could wipe them, would actually have ended the game regardless. So, GG.
GGs are called. End of the day. TireFyrePyre are able to come away the victors. I haven't updated the title name, so I'll just hang out in the draft. But like I said, man, I try not to be overly critical. This is like these people like these teams could be playing just for fun, for recreation. Maybe they don't study strategies and stuff like that. But I feel like the Deathbots lost that game more than TireFyrePyre won it. Like if that Tassadar was any kind of support, I think TireFyrePyre will win the game. The inability to sustain through those team fights is pretty much the only reason why TireFyrePyre won, because they refused to utilize Sylvanas. This game could have ended like 6 minutes ago, easy. If they use
I mean, even sooner than that, they could have gotten a keep off of that second Punisher, which would have secured them level 10.
Yeah,
sooner, and then that would have been middle keep down, which means all of the rotations across the middle of the map from that point onward, they wouldn't have had vision of any of them because the lanes would have been pushed in by the catapults, which means they could have easily secured all of the mercenaries, the camps they wanted. They could have secured the next Punisher that would have resulted in another keep at a minimum, if not just the game.
Yeah.
That team and that comp should not have gotten that game. Should not have gotten past level 16. Level 16 at the outside. If they'd had good rotations and utilized the comp to full effectiveness, it just didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Laura Boo says that we make a good cop, bad cop team, and it's
true. You're very nice, and I'm really not.
I mean, like I said, I don't know the ambitions of these teams. I don't know how long they've been playing, but I do hope that they look back at this game and they're like, wow, if we just had Sylvanas stay with us. Because you got Brightwing. You have one of just the most consistent passive healing. Like, even if Sylvanas is at half health, if you won the team fight, she's going to be healed up. And she doesn't need mana to lock down structures. She could literally click on a fort and go fix a cup of coffee. And she's done everything that she needs to do.
Well, also, I mean, you get those double globes every time you win the shrine. And double globes after the globe changes is basically half your health and half your mana. Right. So even if you're at, like, nothing left, even if you don't have tap, you get those 2 globes, you get at least 1 globe from the wave as you push into the fort, and your 3 globes, you're basically at full health, you're basically at full mana. And literally all Sylvanas has to do is stand there and hit Q and auto attack a building. Like, she doesn't need to use mana to do anything. The only thing you're worried about is her health. And like you said, if you're standing next to Brightwing, you're at full health.
Yeah, I mean, Boba Fitos, this would be the last game that I had to cast tonight. I think it's the last Chair League game at all tonight. I think 9 Pacific is the latest they go. But I will be casting Chair League more or less all week. You'll also see Cavalier Guest. If you haven't followed him, he's on Twitch at Cavalier Guest and also on Twitter at Cavalier Guest. The Socrates of Heroes. And I mean, I don't mean to come down on TireFyrePyre. I would agree with what Snapham said. Their team fight play is good. Like, Kerrigan was landing really strong combinations. Frosty Nay in particular, I like their wailing arrows. It's just from a strategy standpoint, they were leaving so much on the table that it was. I rarely get tilted as a caster, man, but seeing Sylvanas go back on Infernal Shrines when they could just right click on these forts and keeps. That was tough, man.
That was so hard.
I mean, if anything, I would look at it as a positive thing, because as well as you guys played, think of how much better you guys will be once you start to incorporate some of these meta strategies and how you approach the game. Like, this game would have been over 5 minutes ago, at least 5 minutes before it.
We have a request to show talents.
I have not left the. They're looking back on it. They know that Sylve should have pushed for Punisher more. Okay, that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, man. I'm the good cop. Like, it was tough. It was tough.
Getting told from chat it was the team's very first game together.
Really?
I don't know if that. I mean, they're only in placement games, but it was that literally the first time they'd ever played together. They didn't have any like pre-practice at all.
They did really well then, I think.
Yeah, I mean, if that was their first game ever together, and they're not, necessarily players who are very familiar with strategies, map strategies, then their mechanics were very good, but their overall strategy was.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of that's always going to come down to how good your shot caller is. If your shot caller is not familiar with those strategies, like he's saying, in his mind, specialists are wave clear heroes, and they have a wave clear situation. It is like Sylvanas is a specialist. I'm going to send her back to wave clear, not understanding her strengths on that map and why she's drafted. Then that makes sense. But it also speaks to their discipline, right? If that was the case, that they actually did it. Maybe they play Sylvanas. Maybe they know that's not how you play, but they just didn't want to say anything in the middle of the game and ruin team morale. So they just we're going to follow the call. And if that's the case, then their shot caller needs to learn those strategies and learn to be more aggressive in winning the map when you're winning.
Yeah, that would be some discipline. Because if I was that Sylvanas, I would be like, hey, man, I get what the call is, but I'm looking at the builds. I feel like there is some more value to be had out of Falstad if you went for the mage stat setup, especially going Gathering Storm at 1. Boomerang at 7 tends to be the staple. 4 is kind of dealer's choice. If this was Airy Gus and like the 2 trait talents here, you would have seen more value out of Falstad, I feel.
He also would have had more sustain with hammer gains because he would have had the Tassadar shield and his own health restored mechanic. By taking static shield, he's doubling up on the Tassadar shield a little bit, which is fine. But it doesn't give him sustain in lane when his shield wears off, and it doesn't give him merc ability. When you have hammer gains as Falstad, you can actually solo merc camps and come out of it with a reasonable amount of health, and you can't do that if you don't take hammer gains. And if you don't have a healer and you need real health regen, then hammer gains is the only choice at that tier. If you have a real healer, then the dynamic can change a little bit, and certain talents can be better on certain maps. But when you're constantly getting to auto attack something, and there's always something to auto attack in a fight on shrines, because even if you're poked out of the fight, you have shrine minions, you can just attack them. Hammer gains is by far the best talent, level 4, on Falstad in that situation.
I'm looking at the Zul build. I feel like the mana and health on minions would have been the way to go. I get why you would want the heal on Harvest Vitality at 7, but on Infernal Shrines, I feel like that's a bit of a trap because you can just step out to the lane. Like, if you get rocked and you have to back out over the Shrine fight, you can go down, clear a wave, and then pretty much be back at full health, which is a lot more value than you'd have gotten out of Harvest Vitality. My opinion.
We have a report from chat. Frosty is saying she doesn't play Syl at all. I have no idea what I was doing.
I mean, this is a great learning opportunity because you can just lock down. Sylvanas' attacks lock down destruction.
If we went back and watched that replay, there was a Punisher. The Punisher in the bottom lane was only being attacked by 2 people. It mostly died from the 2 towers, the 3 towers, and the fort. Think about the idea if you locked those down and that damage from the forts hadn't been there, the Punisher would have had essentially another health bar, like an entire other health bar. Right. And think about how much damage a Punisher would do if it doubled its health all of a sudden. That's what Sylvanas gives you. If you just keep those structures locked down. And not only that, you take Sylv out of the fight if you're pushing as 5, because Sylv has focused exclusively on locking down the buildings. But that means the rest of your team has nothing to be afraid of. And the Punisher counts as another ally, right? Another hero, because he's going to do those stun chains. He's going to do a ton of damage. So even if they're defending as 5, you're essentially fighting 5v4 underneath their building that you're getting free damage on. And all Sylvanas has to do is stand there and auto attack. Frosting is a he, by the way? Okay. Frosty's apparently a he, but you play the girl
Frosty
character,
me.
and that's what I default to. Whatever the gender of your hero is, that's what I'm gonna refer to you as until I know for sure.
Yeah, I mean the mechanics were there, like in team fights. It's just if you understood the strengths of that hero, if you slash your team did, um, this game would have been over a lot sooner. I can tell you that one. Um, the other talent choices all seem to be pretty standard. Um, I don't know. I feel we're giving like criticism. Trying to be constructive. Like Murden, I think the Deathbots actually could have still taken this game if Murden popped Avatar in stone form before dying. Like
Oh, yeah, you gotta pop those at the
seeing
start
him
of a
go down
fight.
with Avatar still up, that one hurts. That hurts.
And it lasts 20 seconds. Like popping it at the beginning of the fight, you jump in, you have the resistant, you pop Avatar, you immediately get Stone Form. Any damage they do gets immediately healed up by the Stone Form heal. And then you just start slamming healing static. One thing I would say is that build doesn't work as well without battle momentum. You really need the battle momentum, or Iron Forge momentum, I guess it's called now, to constantly proc Thunderburn. So you're constantly getting those healing static procs. When you're up against that many melee heroes, the secondary proc of Thunderburn also procs healing static. So if you're auto attacking and you're throwing down Thunderburn, you're getting a 5% heal per hero every 2 seconds, effectively, because it comes off cooldown fast enough that you can just keep doing it, and you get the proc from Thunderburn as well. They had 3 melee on you a good portion of the time, so you would have been healing for 7.5% per second, basically, with Iron Forge momentum, if you just stood there and slammed. And when you're an Avatar and you have that health buff, that's an enormous amount of sustain. You can't kill a Murder unless he runs out of mana, essentially. Once you have that going, either Avatar wears off, or he runs out of mana, or he's not dead. Like, those are the 3 options.
Yeah, and I mean, and in a situation where you have solo support Tassadar, that kind of sustain is all the more important. Cause like Cavalier said, like, you more or less become unkillable as long as you have mana, because you just heal for so much. And on Infernal Shrine's Piercing Bolt, like you're gonna hit defenders and stuff. Like it's hard to really get value out of his Storm Bolt one way or the other. At level 4, I like going for the bigger they are on Tychus. But I can get why you'd go in the rhythm. It's just, I don't know. I just generally see better numbers and efficiency for me out of bigger they are.
I will say that I get more value out of in the rhythm in Hero League a lot of times, where people don't focus the same target, and I'm forced to kill them by myself. Mm-hmm. But in coordinated environments, where you have a shot caller who's picking targets, I always get more value out of the bigger they are. And I think that's the primary reason we always see it in pro play, pretty much exclusively. Just because when you're focusing one target, that they instantly melt to 40%, and then your team just finishes them off. Nearly, focus fire is so bad. I just really want the synergy with the heal at their team so that I can stay alive through people focusing me while I murder them.
I mean, how well said. Healing static and stone form seems like overkill and battle momentum would have been a better choice. At 16 for Murden, I'm glad to see other people start to use it more, but I like stun.
Heavy impact's really good.
I had been using that for a while before the stone form nerf came in, and because now stone form isn't as good as you. Is really the punchline of that.
I mean, it got nerfed about 10%, but you got to think about there's a solo support Tassadar. You're not going to get any shields from your Tassadar if he's throwing all of them onto your Zool. Right. So
yeah, in this case, I get it. Having that added stun in a normal situation is useful to me. Giving the axe is also really good, especially like for all the reasons that Cavalier guest said. If you're going up against a melee heavy comp and everybody's in your face, not only are you getting so much healing back from healing static, but you're doing so much more damage with your auto attacks. And you're getting value off the auto attacks with Iron Forge momentum. So it just all synergizes really well. But yeah. Everything else seems... This isn't how I play Kerrigan. Fury of the Swarm. I like the Q talent there. More or less, I go Q build. and then
I mean,
aggressive defense.
I think after her rework, there's some arguments for different talents, but I don't think there's an argument on Infernal Shrines. I think that as a Shrine babysitter, in order not to run out of mana, you have to go for the sustain and the reset with the mana refund.
Yeah.
And then there's some debate at 7. I know Fan, for instance, really likes Assimilation Mastery. Even though his combo's not up as often, he never has to back, which for him is a really big deal because he's just roaming aggressively looking for ganks. He's not so much about the Shrine fights specifically. So he's trying to get a different kind of advantage on that map, although he, with the Ravage resets, he's on Shrine fights with his Q anyway, so he's in good shape there. And then Maelstrom is, mandatory. Second Strike versus Eviscerate, there's a lot of debate about which one's better. I think people take Eviscerate when they feel like they need to be playmakers. They need to come in out of nowhere and just wreck someone who's out of position. If you have a good tank to follow up on your initiation in terms of your initiation, then Second Strike is a little bit easier to utilize and does more damage. And then if you're losing, I like Assimilation Mastery because the way it synergizes with Maelstrom to give you crazy amounts of shields is really important. But if you're winning, there's some other options in 16 that just sort of are win more time.
Yeah, I mean, I actually haven't had the chance to play too much Kerrigan, but I agree. Like, I just take some different direction Kerrigan. And after Slap, to the extent I could assure you, I am not trying to be overly critical or anything like that. Chair League is for fun for a lot of people. I don't know what your competitive ambitions are or are not. Just show up to have a good time and hope you had a good time. I don't know. People ask for talents. I think I always try to learn as a player here outside perspective. So you don't feel like we're picking on you or anything. That's definitely not the intention for me. I think if you guys had any other support but Tassadar, you probably would have had that game, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be mean either. I just love HOTS. I love the strategy of it. I love the synergy of it. I spend some of my spare time doing math, mostly for the guides I'm writing, but sometimes I just do math on HOTS for fun to see which combinations are actually more effective and which talents don't actually measure up. And it's a huge reason that I run educational scrims on Saturdays. It's a huge reason that I am a streamer for HOTS. I just want to help people get better at the game. So if I'm ever coming off as overly critical and people have their feelings hurt, please tell me, and I will tone it back a little bit. But I'm also not really great at sugarcoating things. So if I think something's a bad decision, I'll say it. But I don't know. I think a lot of people. We're going to digress from HOTS for a second. We're going to go into a philosophical discussion. I feel like a lot of people, when you criticize a decision they make, they feel like they're criticizing that person, and that's almost never the case.
Yeah,
you're criticizing that decision, right? It's not a matter of you're criticizing the person, because sometimes things are objectively wrong or objectively right, or more than someone in a given area. And in my case, I always get excited when I meet someone who knows more in a given area because it means they can teach me something, and I get really excited about that. I actually giggle at like a schoolgirl. But I know not everyone feels that way, so I try and tone it down a little bit.
And I mean, to kind of expand on that, like, I love HOTS too. So from a technical standpoint, everybody played well, I thought. I mean, from a mechanic, as far as mechanics and stuff, it's just I cheer everybody that's playing on. I want everybody to do well, and when you see some of these strategic choices not go through, or it's like, I know you could have gotten so much more out of that if you did X, Y, and Z. I don't not trying to be critical. It's just I want everybody to do well. I want everybody to have fun.
And we want to keep casting you guys. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
We want to see you get better, and we want to cast you and be like, they played their first game and they didn't do this right, but now they're doing it right. And we get to see people improve every single season, and it actually feels really good, especially since, we've had some teams that ended up in the finals of their divisions that did not start out in a great place, but they improved so much over the course of the season. And you guys would be surprised, I think, how much Chair League is going to make you better, not just because of the playing as a team, but actually, getting casted and watching the cast, you learn a lot.
Yeah, you definitely improve as players. Again, I don't know what your competitive aspirations are, but last season there was a team by the name of Brawls Deep that won the professional division of season 2, and members on that team read freaking PAX West this past weekend. Like, there is room for improvement in chair league and stuff to learn. So, I don't know. Something to think about. Like, FC Ignition specifically was on Brawls Deep. Yeah, so I mean, it's just cool to see stuff like people develop like that. He's definitely improved as a player. But yeah, the Tychus, I mean, I thought you played fine. You're definitely out there getting kills. You didn't die, so you had 11 kills and you didn't die. Like, I mean, not bad, not bad at all.
It's some really good zoning lasers. I always like it. A lot of people just throw down laser wherever. You ought to always utilize the fact that it is a structure. It does body block people, and especially on the Infernal Shrines, those narrow chokes, you can always get a lot of value out of zoning people away or forcing people to just eat the damage if they want to go somewhere they're really trying to get to with laser. And you did a really good job of that. That Brightwing kill with the laser when you first picked up heroics was really especially good because you completely blocked off that corridor.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm thinking about it, that team fight you guys took down a talent tier was more or less won because of that Dragon laser drill.
Right, 100%. 100%.
Right. So kudos to you there for sure. I think I even said to give you some clicks like when I was casting it, if I remember correctly, because that Dragon laser drill was pretty next level. So yeah, man, you played well.
I think that's it for tonight. There's no other casts going on. So I'm going to call it a night. Thank you guys for listening. I'm the co-caster, Cavalier Guest, over on Hallian's channel. We've actually been going back and forth all night, Cal.
I know.
It's kind of funny. I don't even, are we on your channel right now? Yeah, we are.
Yeah, we are. Right. For now. Yeah, I know it's hard to remember. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. It's always fun to co-cast with you. There will be plenty of chair league action on my end as well as Cavaliers. All week. I've got some really cool games that I'm looking forward to casting. Cavalier Guest has some awesome games as well. I'm mainly excited. Some standouts for me. So the team Hold My Bear. I don't know if you've heard. I don't know if you've seen who's on that roster, Cavalier, but it's freaking Dreadnought, J-How, Kalaris, Dunk Train, and another major caster. So I'm really excited. That roster. So I'm excited to cast them. They're gonna be in a best of 3 set tomorrow night. Actually tried to ask Gillyweed if she wanted to cast with me, but Monday through Wednesday she films Beyond the Nexus, so she's like, can't. So that would have been fun. And then on Wednesday I'm casting Team Blaze. It's always fun to see them. Peabody, thanks for the follow, man. But I hope you guys enjoyed the casting. This would be the last game of the night that we have. Appreciate all the follows and stuff. I hope you guys had fun. Plenty of chair league action through the rest of the week and through the coming weeks. I've been so excited to jump back into chair league. I missed it. No lie. So yeah, I hope to see you guys around again. Hope to cast you guys again. Yeah. Any other final thoughts, Kevin?
No, I think you said it very nicely. Have a good night, everyone. Thanks for watching Chair League.
Yeah. Again, check out the Chair League site. If you're looking at this directly through Twitch, again, I encourage you to go over to the Chair League site and watch these games through the interface that Super Jova put together. It's really cool. Like, you see the players that are playing, you see their names at the top and bottom parts of the screen, and when they make a really good play, you can kind of like upvote them. And it's a shared interactive experience through everybody in the audience. And then at the end of the game, you can kind of see like the MVPs and stuff. And those are statistics that end up getting tracked over the season. So it just adds a whole different layer to the watching experience. I think is really cool. So if you haven't done that, thanks for the fellowship. If you haven't done that, next time, tomorrow night, check it out. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, Kalaris will be, he's on the roster. I can show you. I don't know if he'll actually be playing, but he's there. You can also follow people and teams on the Chair League site. So if there's a team that you like or a caster that you like, like myself or Cavalier Guest or the other awesome casters, You can go to the Cherry League site and kind of like follow them that way. See what they're up to. There's like a whole news feed thing. Pretty neat. Apparently not. Production bill. Rip. All right. All right. Well, guess I'm not showing you. I don't know. But I can at least paste the link because I'm good at this and I know what I'm doing. So yeah, you go there. There's Trixler. So Trixler is the captain. Dunk Train, Rajar, Biceps are also notable players. J Howe, Dreadnought, Kalaris. Pretty stacked team. And Skylight were the Division 2 champions last season. They got bumped up to pro. But they are no slouches either. So it's going to be a fun set for sure. Check it out. It's going to be a good time. But for now, call it a night. Season opener is complete. Hope to see you guys tomorrow. Thumbs up. Have a good night.